Hi there, my name's Adam Fielding, and welcome to another one of these music making sessions. I thought today it'd be kind of interesting. I've had a few people ask me to do a synthwave track in the past. I've always kind of shied away from that idea because it's a genre that I'm not super familiar with. Like I've sort of listened to a few tracks here and there, and I know what I like essentially, but I thought it was about time to bite the bullet and actually do a synthwave track during one of these streams. So that is what I'm going to be doing today. So I've already set the tempo to 90 BPM because I was thinking something a bit more chilled without sounding too ambient. But yeah, so it's some kind of nice chilled synthwave. And the only thing I'm starting with in the rack, as ever, is this M-Class maximizer, which I totally didn't just add last minute. So that's just hooked up to the output from the master section and straight out into the hardware output there in Reason. So that's literally the last thing everything will be hitting. So it's just giving me a 3 dB bump. And that's literally it. For all intents and purposes, this is just a blank rack and I'll get started. So if you're watching this on Twitch, please feel free to ask me questions and make noises in the chat as I'm going. Otherwise, I'm just going to crack on and make some noise. So I was thinking the first thing I should probably start with is some drums, because I've got like a rough idea of where I want to go and what kind of synths I want to use. But I feel like having a good solid groove is probably a smart thing to do. In fact, actually, that's a good excuse for me to try something out that I haven't tried during one of these streams before. So I'm going to open up an instance of Rhythmic. And this is a VST that I picked up recently. And I've just realized this window might not be visible on stream because I've set it to capture only the Reason window. So if you just bear with me for a second, I'll just add that over here. So let's have window capture Rhythmic. There we go. So this is Rhythmic, that's kind of hovering around over the top of everything else. I'm just going to move that around. And what this does is you basically throw loops in there and it rearranges them and you can mess around with them, and it's basically really, really neat. So I picked this up. There was a really, really cool upgrade offer for people who owned any of Acusonus's other VSTs. So what I'm going to be doing with this is I'm just going to pick a loop that I like the sound of, throw it in here and see what pops out, and then render that to a new chunk of audio, and then use that as kind of a bit of a percussive starting point. So first thing I'm going to do is go into my sort of little sample section here, my curated sample section here. And I'm going to open the Percussion Library, and you'll notice it's kind of slim pickings here at the moment, and that's because I've basically archived a load of samples, because my sample library was it's got kind of out of control, and I decided to basically kind of nuke everything and start from scratch and kind of try and curate everything. So I'm just going to go through here, and it's like these are all kind of loops from Splice, I think, like they're from a couple of sample banks I picked up. So I'm just going to, that's kind of neat. It'd be kind of cool if I was working on something a bit more kind of, well, I think that could be cool. So unfortunately, you can't just drag and drop stuff from Reason into Rhythmic, which is kind of a shame. So I'm just going to show that in Explorer and just drag it in myself. So one really cool thing about Rhythmic is that it's gonna chop the first 4 bars out. It can only work with 4 bars, but you can extract stems. So what I've done here is it will basically separate all of the elements it can detect in that loop, so we can kind of solo them individually. So this is the first layer. So that's fine. This is all of them together. That's a little loud, so I might turn that down. So I'm not entirely sure I want all of these parts when I come to mess around with it. So you can just turn layers on and off. It's very, very neat. So if I just wanted that kind of reverby element, I could just leave that on, or just realize I'm soloing elements instead of turning them on. So that's kind of neat. But what you can do from this point onwards is you can just turn up IQ Arrange and it will start automatically rearranging the loop. So if we do that, it should just start chopping it up. And you can also use IQ Reverse, which automatically reverses parts of the loop. So it's kind of extreme at the moment. That's basically what I was planning on doing with this loop. So I'm just going to take that, I'm going to go into the sequencer and just sort of draw out like 16 bars and just bounce that to audio. Oh, I've just realized I've got two sets of windows here, so there we go. That's better. So I'm just going to bounce that in place. As Esco has said, they should build this into Dr. Octorex. That'd be awesome, actually. I would love to see that. I feel like as kind of a format, it'd be good to see sort of Recycle and Rexes in general kind of getting a bit of love. But this is Rhythmic has kind of grown on me massively because I do have quite a few loops, and it's just great to be messing around with those and have something that can just kind of chop them up on the fly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take that instance of Rhythmic and just get rid of it because I've bounced what I wanted from it. But what I'm going to do with this loop now is I'm going to quantize it so it's all hard on the beat and normalize it. So that's kind of neat, but I feel like what we can do now is we can use another tool by Acusonus, which is called Beatformer. And this is kind of an interesting thing, so I'm just going to capture that window as well. So where is it? There we go. So this is Beatformer. It's like a nice little effects unit. So I'm just going to play the loop, and it's all very, very straightforward. Basically how this works is there's a bunch of effects that work under the hood as you turn these knobs up and down. So Squash, as you would expect, has a compressor when you turn it up, but it also has an expander and gate that kicks in when you turn it down, which works in a really, really musically satisfying way, in my opinion. I'm going to be using that in a second. Air kind of just brings out the sort of top end of whatever you're working on. Punch and boom, they kind of work how you'd expect. I'm not going to be using those two on this loop because it's more of a top loop, but as I turn the Squash down, you'll be able to hear that kick in. I'll just turn the air up a little bit as well. So it's going to be kind of, I feel like this could be a nice basis for like just some extra little percussion in the background kind of thing. So I'm just going to add a touch of reverb to it just to give it a bit of spaciness and to kind of... I think I may have overdone the Squash there. So if I were to turn Squash up, it would sound obviously compressed. But I kind of want that sort of poppy sound, I think. And Clovermo has said Beatformer looks oddly late noughties in a good way. I can totally see that. Yeah, I actually agree with that. For anyone who is unfamiliar with, I have this weird... I've developed this weird late noughties semi-skeuomorphic user interface soft synth fetish over the past couple of months. So Largo is a synth I'm going to be using at some point during the stream, and the best way I could describe it is it's kind of ugly, but in a really particular way that totally appeals to me. And I'll show that off when I'm actually using it. I was actually slightly disappointed when Korg updated the WaveStation plugin because they've completely overhauled the interface, so it's considerably less ugly. But I kind of liked how it was before. So I'm just going to give this, I'm just going to call this Percussion. Yeah, I just have a weird thing for late noughties soft synth interface designs. I can't explain what it is. It's just something about it. Whoa. so yeah, we got like this little percussive thing here. I just wanted to show off Beatformer and Rhythmic, basically, but I'm not going to be using those a huge amount here because I feel like if I start messing around with commercial loops and stuff, I kind of get into some slight sort of legal grey areas if I want to share this after the fact. So probably best not to mess around with that stuff too much. So I might bounce that in place when I'm done, so it's just a completely different thing than to what I started with. So just for comparison's sake, this is what I started with. So that's kind of neat. And this is what I've ended up with. So it's just a nice way of getting ideas going. So I'm going to stop messing around with that and just create an instance of redrum and actually start messing around with some drums because I feel like that'll be a good thing to do. So I am going to create... Well, I'm just going to pick some kicks and stuff first because I feel like that's a sensible thing to do. So I'm going to create an instance of let's have some kicks. I'm already in the Evolve free directory, so I'm just going to stick here for a bit. So that's a bit heavy, I think. That sounds like kind of a nice rounded drum, so I'll do that. I might reduce the length so we don't get all of the bassiness of that. I am going to use my kind of standard, oh that's handy, I'm going to use my standard Eve drums sort of drum insert section. So for those who haven't seen any of these streams before, what I've got going on here is I'm using an Eve MP5, which is an EQ by Cuasa, and it's awesome. So I'm just using that to give the drums a bit of a bump at 12 dB. It smooths things out sort of around 20k, so it just kind of doesn't sound too harsh while I'm working on it, and that's pretty much it. And it goes through a pulverizer to add a bit of compression, which I might actually turn down for this track, just a little bit. And it finally goes to a limiter, which I need to update because I feel like having that set to minus 6 dB is a bit much. I've set that down to minus 3. So I'm just going to get a simple 4 on the floor kick going just so I can set my kick level in the mixer. That's actually pretty much exactly where I want it to be. So what I've done here is I've just set the kick to, so it kind of comes in at around minus 10 dB. So what I tend to like to do is I like to have my elements coming into the mixer at about sort of the more prominent elements at about minus 10 dB and the more sort of background elements at about minus 20 dB. It's not a specific rule, but it's more of a kind of quick way to kind of get ideas going. It's a nice starting point for working on a mix. Just had a look in the chat. Jalix76 has said, "Hey Adam, side note, I downloaded All Is As It Should Be the other day and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a long drive and it was great companion music to drive to. Great work you did in 2012. Excellent, thank you very much. That's very nice of you to say. Fun fact, I actually wrote that album in 2011, but it did come out in 2012. It's not, I don't even know why I bothered sort of adding that little fact. It makes no difference. But no, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. I've really enjoyed working on that album, and it's kind of I feel like it'd be nice one day to do a sort of spiritual successor to it. Like I've dabbled with that style again, but yeah, I really like writing ambient stuff. So yeah. So anyway, I've got rid of those kicks. So let's get a snare going. So I'm just gonna go into electronic snare and feel like I could possibly do something with that, but it's just too much of it at the moment. It's got kind of a nice sort of poppiness to it, so I might turn that down as well. And I'll grab a closed hat while I'm here. So let's have a hat. I'm not going to obsess over hats, that'll do. And now I'm going to create an instance of Beatmap. I've got a rough idea of where I want to go in Beatmap, because I seem to recall the top left kind of area, in fact sort of around here really, is kind of nice sort of 4 on the floor sort of territory, and I feel like that would be nice for a kind of more synthwavy approach. So might turn the density down on the kick. Okay, cool. So I'm also going to turn the reset step up on here so that we get more of a sort of varied pattern going on. Might turn the hat density down just a little bit as well. And what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to create a line mixer for all of the elements in this redrum for reasons that will become apparent very shortly. So I'm just going to route the hats and the snare and the kick to their own respective channels and have the rest of the kick come in on channel 6. Then that can go back to the input on this channel section here. So I'm going to create an instance of the RV7000, which I don't tend to use very much in these streams. And I was thinking if I'm doing something synthwavy with kind of a sort of 80s, 90s sort of feel to it, it'd be nice to have some gated reverb. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going down to the drum section. I'm just going to use 80s gated plate as a starting point and just stick some on the snare. Hey, that's more like it. Right. Brilliant. Okay, so got some nice gated verb going on there. Yeah, I love the RV7000. Like I don't tend to use it that much during my streams, but I do like it. I tend to use it kind of more for drum effects nowadays. As Drabbits just said in the chat, I always default to RV7000 for gated verbs. Yeah, it's great for that kind of thing, and I feel like this style lends itself well to that sort of thing. So I feel like what I really need, well, there's an extra percussive layer going on here, so I feel like I should fill that out with something. So I'm going to go into the percussion section, and I don't know. Howdy. nice little pop. Just turn that down. I don't want it to be too prominent. So I kind of feel like that rhythmic loop in the background is helping to fill out the drums a bit. I feel like one thing I really need to add to this, though, given that it's going to be a sort of more synthwavy track, is I feel like I need some really satisfying toms. So it's not really what I'm going for. I reckon if I pitch that down, that could work nicely, especially with a bit of reverb on it. So let's just pitch that down to, like, I don't know, -8. That sounds fun. Maybe a bit more. Let's stick some reverb on that. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Right, okay. Let's have those toms come in there. Let's have the toms all the time. Just realised I've put that reverb on the rest of the kit when I should have just put it on that one channel. So I'm just going to route that to another channel here, and there we go. Cool, that'll do. So I feel like that's a nice little starting point. We've got some drums, we've got that extra little percussive layer. I feel like I might add some disperser to the kick, especially given that I've already separated it out. So I'm going to create an instance of disperser and route the kick through there and leave it at the default of 200 Hertz and just turn the amount down a bit. How's that sound? I feel like it gives it a bit more of a knock. So if I crank that up, you'll be able to hear what it's doing a bit more easily. So that's way too much. So it just gives the kick a bit more of a knock. But I feel like that's a nice starting point. So I said I was going to try some different techniques this time, but I feel like for the bass, I really want to use the VK2 because I feel like it just lends itself well to this kind of thing. So I'm just going to use the VK2, screw it. So I'm going to stick with these 8 bars here. In fact, I'm going to bring all of this into its own block and just extend the length of that block and start messing around with it. So I'm going to turn the octave down there, and I want that oscillator to be a square. So I'm going to set that to oscillator 1 rectangular. Just realised the problem with capturing just the window contents here in OBS is that you can't actually see the drop-down menus when I click on them. So you'll just have to go by faith that I am actually selecting the correct oscillator type. So that's the square oscillator there. So I'm going to use the shape. I'm going to have that routed to LFO1 sine. Just turn that up a bit. That's a bit too quick. Sounds a bit ridiculous. There we go. So we've got a nice simple oscillator there. So now I'm just going to turn the filter down a bit and just adjust the envelope that's controlling the filter. So I don't want that to be affecting the filter too much. So I've just turned that knob down a bit. So EG1. So if I just turn decay down, turn sustain down. Actually, I do want that to have a bit of an effect and adjust the velocity sensitivity a bit there. There we go. I feel like a bit of drive would be nice as well. All of the drive. Let's have a bit more on the amp section. Cool, that's good. Buskin Bills asked, was there any reason you changed your capture setup? Notice you have overlay for chat on the bottom as well. Basically, originally I was capturing the contents of the entire screen, and I thought it would just be easier for peace of mind if I was just capturing just Reason and controlling what windows were being captured. It also had the side effect of not displaying the title bar, so there's a nice little section at the bottom of the screen which I could use for chat, which I thought was a nice side effect. So it was basically to make things a bit easier for me and to provide a little bar for chat at the bottom, which I quite like. So we haven't actually lost any information by me doing this. It just means that where the taskbar would be normally on my screen is a nice little space for chat, which I thought was kind of nice. Drabbit said shorten the release on the app too. That's, yeah, I should do that. So there we go. Cool. So I'm just going to draw in a nice simple bass line. So let's start with, actually I might bring that down another octave just so it's easier for me. Yeah. I might actually bring the filter down because that's a bit much, and have, yeah, okay, so that's a nice little feature in Reason 11 is you can hold down Control and Alt and just draw the notes in that way, and they'll all be the same length. Kind of pointless for me at the moment because I'm actually going to be just copying and pasting all of those. So, but you know, if you just want to draw in some very, very quick stuff, it's very useful. Drabbits also said that the screen capture in OBS also uses way more GPU, CPU than the window capture. I get much better Reason performance in window capture. That's actually really good to know. Yeah, that hadn't even been a consideration, to be honest, because I've not really had any issues with performance during these streams. But yeah, that's incredibly useful to know. So thank you for that. I will be sticking with window capture. I'm just going to draw in let's have some changes. Let's have that go to a D sharp. Actually, let's have that go down to a D sharp. And then let's have an F sharp, I think. I'm really tempted to go down, but I feel like that. Let's have it go down. Let's have to go down to an E. So if I just highlight those, bring that down. Yeah, I'll do. I might actually bring the release up again. That's better. Just wanted a shorter decay. So right, if I just open the filter up. So on the back, I'm just going to increase the jitter and drift on the oscillator just so we get a little bit of kind of wobble. It's a nice easy way of doing that on the VK2, and I might stop messing around with that just because I feel like it's a nice simple bass line. I can start messing around with that. So there we go, that's kind of around minus 10 dB, which is exactly where I want that. Mitch Mood has said, this is already nice. Bounce that out and let's go. Also, hello, Mitch Mood. Good to see you. So yeah, it's got a good feel to it. I'm liking that. So I have an inkling I'm going to be cheating here. So I'm going to create an instance of Contact because a couple of months ago, I actually picked up a Native Instruments gave away a freebie at the start of lockdown called Analog Dreams. So I'm just going to capture that instance of Contact so we can have a proper look at it. So that's Contact. So I am going to just open up Analog Dreams, and I know there's some pads in here that will work really nicely. Actually, I'm going to just move that around. So I'm going to have a look in the pad section and just see what's what. Okay, that's interesting. In fact, I'm going to just drag that out of the way for a second on my screen. Turn that down in the mixer and bring that back. So, actually, I'm going to close that for now. And let's have a player here. So, I'm just going to have a look at the notes I've got going on here. So I'm going to set that to G sharp something and see where it goes. So A flat. It's going to go for Lydian because I'm going to go let's go Phrygian. I'm kind of leaning towards that. Set the notes to 4 and just. In fact, what I might do is just copy the notes I've got here from the bass, and so that's G sharp, D sharp, right. That actually sounds quite nice. So, G sharp, D sharp. It was, yeah. There we go. So if I just turn that down, because I want that to be more kind of in the background, so I'm going to have that targeting around -20 for the purpose of this. So in case you hadn't noticed, I am. Oh yeah, I've just realised that window's floating all over the place again. So. So yeah, you may have noticed I'm mixing on headphones as I always do. It's kind of a necessary part of this setup, unfortunately. So it is kind of a very rough mix I'm working on here. So tomorrow I'll probably listen back to this track and give it a couple of tweaks and see where it goes. But so that's neat. But I'm just going to open up that that window again. Oops. This is slightly irritating. So let's just have contact here again. Analog Dreams. Cool. There we go. And just move that there. And I'm just going to have a look through the different pads and see what we've got. There was one that I really liked the sound of that I think it might have been Triple Step. Yeah, that's the one. So I might kind of smear that a little bit with reverb so we have the less obvious kind of steps, but I think I'm going to leave that mostly as it is. So I'm just closing that window. Let's get rid of that. And just going to apply a bit of the old DR1. You can't go wrong with DR1. So how does that sound? Drabbit has said, love that pad. How would you think that's made in another synth? I mean, it kind of sounds like just lots of saws, basically. I would assume they use some kind of super saw oscillator, or yeah, it just sounds really nice. Maybe applied some chorus to it. It has quite a lot of pitch drift as well. So yeah, it's just a filtered super saw, I would assume. But yeah, I feel like if I was less lazy, I could have tried to create something like that myself, but it sounds good, and I kind of just wanted to roll with that. And I wanted an excuse to bust out Analog Dreams. I haven't really had an excuse to use that yet. So actually, I'm just going to listen to that. Buskin Bills has said first inversion as well. I might try that. I'm going to leave that off for now, but what I might do is I might automate that later and bring that in as a bit of a variation. So Buskin Bills also said, I'm thinking hole capture would be a better option for OBS. I can certainly see that. I've been having some issues with pop-up windows of VSTs. If I hadn't used VSTs this time, I wouldn't be having this problem, which is really funny because I don't tend to use that many VSTs in these streams. Of course, today I've messed around with my setup, and I am. But I might just roll off the lows a little bit on that particular channel, just because we don't need all the lows. And I might do the same with the percussion as well, because we've got the drums. That's fine. So what I might do, because I've got kind of a 4 on the floor thing going, I might add an instance of pump and just bring the floor up a bit. And I'm going to do the same on the bass as well, which I haven't given a sensible name. I should be giving these channels sensible names, or I'm going to become unstuck later on. So I'm going to call that drums, percussion, bass, and pad. There we go. Again, I feel like I need to emphasize, I am totally not a synthwave expert, so it's warming the cockles of my soul that Drabbit has said Timecop 1983 vibes, because I actually recognize that. I actually recognize Timecop 1983. So yes, I'm actually hitting the genre that I was aiming for. Brilliant. So there's a couple of things I'm going to do in a second, one of which is my usual Beatmap, creating variations for the drum line and messing around with that later on when I'm actually arranging the track. But for now, I'm just going to be adding some extra elements to this section. So I mentioned I was going to add an instance of Wave Station, and I feel like the time has come to do that. And I'm also going to drag some of these elements out of the way, so we don't have one big column. So this is the drums and bass section, not to be confused with the drum and bass section, which is what I said during the Reason Studio stream. And it's like, this is definitely not a drum and bass track. So Trusco 2000 says, it gives me a vibe of Depeche Mode. Sounds great. Excellent. I love Depeche Mode. That'll do. I like you. You can stay. So Wave Station. So yeah, I have a real soft spot for Wave Station. I'm just gonna... It's like, I had no idea how ubiquitous the Wave Station was to the sound of the 90s and lots of soundtracks and music released around then. I had no idea until I started messing around with it, and I was like, oh, holy crap, this is on everything I listened to in 1994 or whenever. It's fun just playing around with it and having instant X-Files. So I'm actually going to see if I can find some of these X-Files patches, because I find it hilarious. And now I can't actually remember the name of any of them. I'm not going to get too into this because... Bode Steel Pad? Oh, this actually really bugs me. If anyone recognizes this sound from anywhere, please tell me where you may have recognized it from, because... I just realized I'm not actually showing you the window. Please tell me where it's from, because it really bugs me that I haven't seen... Yeah, so here we go. This is the sound I'm referring to. Like, I've recognized that sound from somewhere, and I cannot for the life of me figure out where it's from. So it could be from anything, but yeah, so... I can't find the particular X-Files patch I was referring to, but basically, first time I started using this, I was like, oh wow, this pad is basically the entire first season of the X-Files, and I just had a massive nostalgia bomb. It was incredible. I loved it. So I'm going to be relying on presets for this, because I feel like if you're using Wave Station, it's... Oh, Clovermut has said, can you play it again? Mitch Mood has said Terminator. I think the Wave Station may be a bit too late for Terminator. Unless you mean Terminator 2, but even then I think it might be too late. Beginning of Michael Jackson's Bad. It sounds similar, but it's not. Again, I think it's too late for that. I could be wrong. So that it was... Oh crap, what was it called? Oh no! Oh, damn it. I can't remember where it was. Oh, Bode Steel Pad, there we go. Wave Station is a few years after Terminator 1, but I think it came up before Terminator 2, so maybe. I think that's a good lead. I think that's a good lead to go from. I'm going to have to research that. So anyway, this isn't me picking. So I kind of want like a sort of typical kind of 90s-ish. I might actually go with that, you know. I reckon if I stick that through some DR1, that might be kind of cool. So I have some interesting discussions about this in the chat. I'm genuinely curious as to where that patch is from, because I recognize it from somewhere, and I'm thinking maybe it's a game or something, but I really don't know. Oh, excellent! Got a recommendation for some synthwave in the chat. I'm actually going to copy and paste that link, so I've got it for later. There we go. Right. So anyway, yes, that's going to be one of my lead sounds, I feel. So I'm going to close that window and get rid of that. And let's stick it through some reverb. Yeah, I think that'll work. I think that could work. So, it wasn't that. It was. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, I think that could do. Let's copy that and. I quite like that. Kind of gives it a nice. Nice nostalgic flavour. I might just turn that snare down a bit because it is a bit intense in my head. I don't think that wave-stable patch is from Michael Jackson, but I can totally see why you would think that. It definitely has that feel. Buskin Bill said, what was the length of the bass notes? A quarter or an eighth? I think it was a 16th. So let's have a look. It's 1/16th, yeah. So each one's 1/16th. So we're kind of getting that sort of rapid feel to it. I feel like I should be watching an advert or something. It's yeah, that's pretty much the feel I'm going for. So I'm going to go with wave station keys. But I feel like it'd be nice to contrast that with something else. So I'm actually going to copy that entire section, have some variations in the second half of this, and maybe just adjust the third note on the bass or something. So So yeah, let's have that go up to an A, and I'll reflect that in the pad as well. I think that'd be kind of nice. Excellent. So that's a start. Right, I feel like I might change that with another lead as well, so we can have them both playing off each other at some point. But there's one thing I want to do in a second. Clovermart said these chords are so buttery. That's excellent. I like that's an excellent use of the word buttery there. Buskin Bills asked, you on the G&T tonight, Adam? I am actually. I forgot to get some beer in, so I'm on the G&T again. It's funny how gin has kind of become my backup drink during these streams, but there we go. Right, I'm going to create an instance of Waldorf Largo. So I am actually using all of the VSTs today. So I'm actually kind of a sucker for the Waldorf sound. There's something about their filters that really appeals to me, and it was kind of interesting. I noticed this because someone mentioned it was on sale on the Reason Talk forum, and I'd actually genuinely considered picking up a Blofeld synth in the past, and then I picked up my Virus TI, and I never really looked back at getting any more hardware synths, except for the Lyra 8, but that's a whole other thing. But like I've always been kind of intrigued by the Waldorf sound. So when I noticed that Largo was on sale for about $30, I was like, well, this is kind of a no-brainer, really. So I'm just going to fire up the window here. This is Largo. So again, this appeals to the weird sort of late noughties fetishistic part of oh, I've messed with the window again. My weird obsession with what have I done here? Yeah. What? Why is this not working? Right. There we go. Right. Yeah, you're right. I think I might go back to screen capture next week because this is kind of annoying me. So this is Largo. Unfortunately, you can't really see what I'm pointing at, but I really, really like how it sounds. And it's that's very particular kind of ugly that I like. Someone said it looks like an old Winamp skin I had, and that is such a good description. So I'm going to create a very simple patch using it, but I really kind of want to use the filter section I think it worked really nicely in kind of a sort of synthwavy context. So I'm actually going to click on keep open so I don't keep accidentally closing this window or anything. So I'm thinking it'd be nice to have like a nice ARP in the background. Try to make too much noise with the microphone. So it'd be nice to have like a nice little sort of arpeggiated section running throughout. So I'm just going to create a nice simple patch. I'm going to create an init patch to start with, and if I can remember how to do that, look, there we go, init patch. So nothing particularly fancy there. So I'm going to go to the edit section and just create something really, really simple. So just going to bring the filter frequency down. I'm going to stick with the sawtooth wave because it's a nice place to start. Bring up the resonance. In fact, oh yeah, so the drive is on hard at the moment. I'm going to turn that down to light, so it's a bit less intense, and I might just Mitch Muda said, do you think knowing Winamp is one of those things that shows your age range? Very possibly. It's very much an early to mid noughties thing, I feel. I'd still be using it if I hadn't switched to Foobar, to be honest. But I love it. So yeah, I'm just going to mess around with the envelopes here. So it's a very simple kind of sound. Just going to increase the decay on the filter. And let's have a bit of release on these as well. So, at the moment, it's nothing particularly fancy. I'm also going to have that going through a high-pass filter, just so we can get some extra filter goodness on here. Oh yeah, I need to set it to serial routing. So I'm also going to use LFO2 to control the cutoff frequency on the second filter here. So at the moment, like I said, it's kind of a simple sound. And I'm also going to do a nice little trick here. So I'm going to use a sample and hold type LFO, turn the speed right down, and use the matrix section to route LFO1 to pan on filter 2. Oops. So now every time I press a key, it just pans all over the place, which is great. Bit of variation. So, excellent. So I'm just going to add a bit of reverb to it. So again, this is like the simplest of the simple patches I could be creating with this synth, but it kind of sounds nice. Actually I'm going to close that filter a bit. That's what I'm talking about. So that is excellent, excellent synthwavy goodness there, I think. Perfect for an ARP. Such a smooth filter. Like I absolutely love it. I love the sound of it. I can't explain why I love it so much, but it's a very particular sound. And I feel like the Largo and Waldorf synths in general are great at kind of really, and this isn't a good example, but I feel like they're really good for glassier textures and that kind of thing. But so that's great. Yeah. Drabbit said that is the synthwave woof. Yeah, so I'm going to create an instance of let's have scales and chords and just go with A flat Phrygian again, and I'm going to be using the dual arpeggio because I don't really use that very often. So I'm just going to have like a nice simple ARP line here. So let's have I'm going to use the pattern. So I'm going to have keys 1, 2, 3, and then have it maybe come down again after that. So that's nice. So what I'm going to do now is just go back to... I'm actually going to close that Largo window because I think I'm done with getting a simple sound out of that now. So just close that. And I'm just going to copy the pad line and just paste it in like the lazy sucker I am. So here we go. I might mess around with that ARP, and in fact I think it might be interesting if I play it backwards. So... I might mess around with the filter a little bit actually in Largo, so if we just open that up again. There we go, right. Actually, let's have more notes, yeah. That's better, that's better. Buskin Bill said, I like to split them so the lowest notes can have a different pattern. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. So what I might do is just have a separate... Actually, I'll add some delay to this because I feel like that needs to be done. And I've just realised I've got the second window over the top there. So I'm going to add an instance of the echo here and just use that. I want plenty of feedback on that. I just want it to be a nice kind of wash over everything. In fact, there's something I do want to try out in a second. It'd be nice to have that filter opening and closing. So that's something I do want to do. So just turn that up a bit. Let's have a bit more resonance there. In fact, there's two things I really want to try. Three things I want to try on this. So I feel like the fact that we've got kind of a nice, it's just a nice sound to start with, let's be honest here. So I'm going to include an instance of, I'm just going to use the, where is it, channel EQ here, just drag that up, shift drag, so I can just crank that up. So because it's quite quiet at the moment, so there we go, it gives me a bit more space to play around with on the actual SSL mixer here. So I might roll off the lows using the high pass filter there. That's nice, I like that. So I'm going to open up this Largo window again and set this up so it works. Can't you see it? Right, there we go. Right, yes, I'm definitely going to go back to screen capture next time because this is kind of a faff. Yeah, I'm going to set up the... Oh, there we go, save reminder. Oh, gave me a shock, that. But that's what it's for. Thank you, Drabbit. So that's saved. So I'm going to set the cutoff of filter 1, which is a low pass filter. I'm going to have that routed to the mod wheel and just have that turn up. In fact, yes, turn it up all the way. So that'll be nice. Maybe a bit harsh at the moment, so I'm just going to get rid of that duplicate there and just have that open and close during the duration of this section here. I had quite an interesting issue with Largo when automating parameters manually, like if I were to automate the filter frequency instead of the mod wheel, it kind of caused the rest of Reason to freeze while the actual user interface was updating. It was very strange. So I'd be interested to see if that's specific to Reason or if it's just something Largo does. I'm just going to listen to that in context. How's that sound? So it's a bit harsh in the highs at the moment. So I was actually thinking of adding an instance of cassette to kind of crunch it up a bit. That's actually worked really nicely. I'm tempted to just not mess around with cassette and leave that as it is because I think that sounds great. quite nice. I really like that. So I might add just a dash of reverb to that. I know I've got one going on in the actual synth itself, but I feel like a little bit of DI1 would be nice. And it'd be nice to have an instance of pump on that as well. Not go too crazy with it, but just... So definitely going for the more kind of chill end of synthwave, I feel. So this is actually kind of a nice block, not good 40 seconds there, excellent. Scode1 says liking it. That's as good, that's good. So I was thinking, now we've got a nice ARP there. I was thinking of adding some extra elements as suggested by Bicycle Bills. I'm going to do that. Let's have a couple of low notes. If I just bring the octave down, I can't bring the octave down. So what I'll do is bring the octave at the top. Oh wait, I'm doing this all wrong. If I just transpose that down, there we go, by 12 steps. So the second section will be one octave lower. So if we just have a pattern here, just play a few notes. It's quite nice. Again, I might adjust the mod wheel so it's not coming in quite so much. I might have that come in later again. I'm going to automate that so I can have that come in at a certain point in the track. But in this block, I'm just going to have it on so I can mute and unmute that as I feel I need to. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I've had issues doing that before and it's just made things a bit of a faff, but I will automate that and have it come in later. So I might mute, I'm going to give this a sensible name because it's called Init Program at the moment. I'm just going to call that ARP. And so we've got the wave station, and I was thinking it might be nice to complement the wave station with another Korg synth that I particularly like in Reason, and that would be the lovely Poly 6. So I've used this as a bass quite a lot in the past. It's like a nice kind of bass droney sort of synth. But actually, I think it's really nice as a kind of lead synth. It reminds me a bit of the Volca keys. Like I use that quite a bit as a lead on sort of hardware recordings. So and it's very easy to mess around with. So if I just adjust the... So you add some reverb to that and you've got a nice kind of sad sort of lead sound really, so... I was going to say Blade Runner vibes, but that's just, it's a sawtooth wave with reverb on it. I kind of feel like you can't just describe a sawtooth with reverb on it as Blade Runner vibes. That's such a cliched thing to say. So anyway, I'm going to add a bit of a sort of LFO wobble. I said a bit, not all of it. The problem is it is kind of finicky. So yeah, I'm just going to start adding stuff. I'm just going to start writing stuff. So I'm going to turn on the insert pre here and just roll off the lows on the reverb. And Drabbit said there's a killer synthwave refill for Poly 6 from Exode. I should check that out. That sounds very useful. And I happen to really like Exode stuff as well. He's one of the kind of older Reason users. I say old as in he's been using it for a while, not Exode's old. That's a bit harsh. But yeah, it's good. I mean, Exode was, as far as I'm aware, he designed Expanse, which is a great synth. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to stop promoting other people's stuff and just draw some stuff in. Oh, that sounds sad. I like it. And let's have a longer tail on that reverb. I would actually go so far as to say that Poly 6 is one of my most used synths in Reason. Like, ever since I first picked it up in 2014 or whenever it was, I've used it so much. It's not a super versatile synth, but what it does really, really, really well, and I've got a lot of time for that. Especially if you're working on a song. I mean, you saw how quickly I dialed in that patch. It was nothing. It was, it's great. Highly recommend checking out if you haven't already. In fact, I was going to say there's a Korg sale on at the moment, but the rack extensions aren't included, which I think is a bit of a pain, but there we go. Anyway, before I get distracted there, I'm just going to copy and paste that and just move some of this stuff around. That's not going to sound right. Let's have that go up. I think I'll just copy and paste that. There we go. So I'm actually going to adjust that tom because I feel like I could do with having more reverb on it and maybe have it sort of ring out a bit more. I might actually have that come down and have the high note at the end of this block. So it's... Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So yeah, let's play that with the wave station. I think that might be a bit too busy, but we'll see. I like that. I'm going to mess around with that snare though, because it just sounds a bit... Let's just add some more reverb, that'll be fine. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. Some more reverb, that'll be fine. I'm not going to get bogged down in the details here, but yeah, I like that. So, I think we've got a nice rough block going on here. There is one thing I do want to add though, which I think is essential at this point. I've realised I'm working on a synthwavy track and I haven't added any claps. So that can be channel 5 there. Let's turn that down a little bit and have a bit of reverb on it. Excellent. Let's have all the reverb. Yeah. All right. Dravit said, if it's synthwave, you need a clap. I'm in your head. Yes. I was slow off the mark there, I feel. It definitely needs claps. So, yeah. realised I'm programming this like a sucker when I could be using Beatmap to just trigger some claps. So I feel like that pop is kind of a bit, it's a pretty weak source. Although let's set this to F1 because I think that's where the clap lives. So that's E1. There we go. Let's just have a little mirror there. Cool, I like that. Excellent. So, and again, I've cheated with Beatmap, so that's good. Always happy to cheat a bit with Beatmap. So, righty. So what I'm going to do now is, so before I've used Beatmap to add fills and variations while I've been working on tracks. So I'm going to do that now, but instead of just sticking it in the sequencer lane of the main track, I'm going to stick it in block 32, which is something I've started doing. So I'm just going to call this Beatmap fills, and I'm just going to hit the direct record button and just play and get, let's get 16 bars worth of loops, why not? So I'm just going to be flying all over the place with Beatmap, and we'll just see what pops out. So here we go. That'll do. I don't need 16 bars. Right, that's plenty for now, I think. So I've just realised I've been flying all over the place with Beatmap and I've lost my original position. So I've copied that so I can hang on to it. I'm just gonna undo that and hopefully it'll go back to where it was before. All right. So, oh no, it's broken my undo section. Damn it. Right, never mind. I'll just hang on to that. It's fine. I know it was around here somewhere, so I'm sure I can find the original section. I should have made a note of this before I started messing around. So it was around about here. Let's just. Oh no, I'm never gonna find this again. Maybe further down. I think it was around there anyway. Buskin Bills has said, drag the MIDI clip to the desktop, then undo. That would have been a sensible thing to. Well, I couldn't undo really. The problem is, I'm getting all of the sounds. As I was pressing undo, it was just removing one note at a time. So each undo instance was one individual note. And there aren't enough, it doesn't store, I don't think Reason stores enough undo instances for me to undo this entire clip. So I just basically had to try and go back to the beginning. But next time I'll just make a note of where I started so I can go back, or just copy the instance of Beatmap. I normally do this and I just forgot this time. But we've got the fills and we've got the drums back to how they were, so it's fine. It was a well-deserved Club 'em Up redeemed the sound of the guy going duh in the factory sound bank, which I feel was well earned on my part. So one thing I have noticed about a lot of the synthpop, well, the limited amount of synthpop that I've actually listened to, is there's lots of filter sweeps and that kind of thing, which is why I think it's nice that the ARP's got that. But I can also, because I've used actual synths for a lot of this stuff, I can sweep the filter on the bass, and even the instance of Analog Dreams that I'm using has filter control. So, yeah. Dravit says, I think we need a long-form doc about the person who made the Durr sound. I'd love to see that. I'd ironically love to see that. In fact, it's a slight tangent I'm going off on here. One thing I really want to put together at some point is a YouTube video of all of the Easter eggs that were in Reason 1, because I feel like a lot of people haven't seen those, and they're specific to that one version of Reason. And I haven't seen it that much on YouTube, so I feel like I should take it upon myself to just record. There's loads of Easter eggs, like if you click on the logo for the NN19, it shows the like a startup sequence on the LCD display and like stuff like that. It's really cool. And I feel like I should just record it. So I should get on it, share it with the world. I feel like it's a nice bit of Reason history that's kind of been long forgotten, really, because they ditched them in Reason 2, and I've never really been entirely sure why. But there we go. That's history for you. Anyway, we've got a block there. Basketballs has said screw in Subtractor. That is actually still in Reason, I believe. So if I create an instance of Subtractor for anyone who hasn't seen this, subtract there. So if you click and drag the screws, you can unscrew it from the rack, which is completely pointless, but I kind of love it. So it's strange how that's the one thing that they've kept in. But yeah. Yeah, I'm sure there's another Easter egg. That's it. There's one on the Sonic Charge BitSpeak, where if you flip it round, you can open up the battery cover, which I thought was a really, really fun little touch. I love seeing that. It's great. I think it'd be funny if you unscrewed the Subtractor from the rack and the whole Subtractor just fell out. That'd be kind of funny. It just ruins your entire track that you're working on. You end up with a bunch of noise. That'd be great. Anyway, this isn't me arranging the track in any way. I feel like I've got enough going on there. Let's just start the track off. Let's have some blocks. I feel like it'd be good to just start with the percussion filtering in, that pad, not the drums. So I'm just going to automate the mute on all of these redrum channels so I can just mute them at the start. So you're muted, you're muted, you're muted, you're muted, you're muted. There we go. So yeah, I'm going to have that pad filter in, and I'm also going to have the percussion kind of filter in, but I'm going to use a very particular kind of filter, which I haven't really used during these streams. So, oh, hi, Gene Knott. I've just realized a new user in the chat. Hi, glad I've finally found a Reason enthusiast on Twitch. I am very enthusiastic about Reason. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the stream. So I'm going to create an instance of an effect I haven't actually used during these streams before, which is the RX950. And it's really neat. It's basically, you can kind of use it as a sort of bit crusher kind of thing. It basically gives a really nice crust to the sound that goes through it. And I'm always a bit wary about using the word crust as an adjective for something positive, because let's be honest, it's not very positive most of the time. But in this instance, it's really nice. So if you turn the audio bandwidth down, just kind of get this nice kind of crusty sound. So I'm going to leave that around the sweet spot of about 12k. But the reason I'm actually using it is because it's got a very particular filter. So it doesn't have resonance controls, it's just filter min maximum. And as far as I can tell, it's sort of transparent, like the ECF42. Not quite transparent, but it's good stuff. So I'm just going to have that percussion section just filter in over time, and you'll be able to hear. It's just a satisfying sound. So it's a nice kind of one control filter for bringing in elements. I really like it, and I think it will work nicely on that percussion with the pad as well. So if we have the pad filter in fact, I think that pad is crying out for, if I'm using the rack extension filters, I might as well use another one here, and that is the Synapse AF4, which I don't think I've used a lot in these streams either. Now this is definitely not a transparent filter. So that's about right. So I'm actually going to abuse the drive a bit here, because it sounds Not that much though, because it does add a really nice bit of dirt. It's great. So that should have some really nice dirt as the filter opens up. So it just adds a nice bit of grit to that pad as it opens up. So I'm not going to use the second half of that block just yet. I'm just going to let that come in with the kick and the snare. In fact, I might have that percussion filter in a bit less at the start. Or maybe I won't. Who knows? Maybe have that filter out a bit. And then just have that come back. Yeah. That's strange. Now why? Oh, because I've still got the toms muted, right? So yeah, I wanted the tom to come in at the end, so that'll do nicely. Oh wow, I'm just checking on the chat. Sorry, I've been neglecting the chat for a bit. So Mitch Muda said I was a Reason user from version 2 to 5 when I had kids and got married, then ran Expendable out of money. Finally got 11 at the start of lockdown. Wow, that must have been a jump. I always feel like if I'd got into Reason now, it would have been super intimidating to start. Like, I feel like I'm incredibly grateful to have got into it with Reason 1 because there was just enough going on there. So yeah, wow, that must be a lot of new toys to play around with there from 5 to 11. Woohoo! I like it. Yeah, so Buskin Bills has said get some ping pong on the per channel. Oh, on the percussion. That's a good idea. Let's do that. Right. Now the question is, do I put it before the filter or after? Let's try after. So I don't want too much, but let's have a bit. Good call, Buskin Bills. Good call. In fact, I might have that open up over the course of the intro, so it's dry at the start, and then we get that extra bit there. Oh, Mitch Mood, yeah, I've had to retrospectively reroute old songs as they still went through the old mixer. I feel that, like, I can relate to that so much. In fact, I replied to someone on the Reason Talk forums recently about it. It wasn't you, was it, who had the post about upgrading to a newer version of Reason and being reluctant to use the new mixer because it sounds like it's just, oh right, it's a very strange coincidence. I replied to someone on the Reason Talk forums where I said I had the exact same thing when I moved from Reason to Record. I was very reluctant to use the SSL mixer, which I use all the time now. So I just had everything being rooted in the rack, which is how I was just used to working. And it's absolutely worth getting used to the SSL mixer. And Mitch Moody said, I've dove straight in. You've made the absolute right decision. I was very stubborn in changing to the SSL mixer. And when I did, I felt really stupid for putting off for so long. But I released an album in 2010 called Lightfields, and that didn't use the SSL mixer for its intended purpose at all. And I still kick myself that I didn't do that. But there's something very cathartic about routing old songs to the SSL mixer and mixing them properly. So I'm just going to play this. bring in the hats a little sooner. In fact, we're still using the Beatmap, so let's automate the density of the hats. Let's have them come in a bit over time. This is excellent, and I've noticed Escode1 has said it's really grown on me, this method of arrangement using blocks. It's a really good way of working, especially for getting ideas down quickly. It's perfect. I love it. So I'm going to bring in that block here. I'm going to automate the filter on the bass as it comes in. Don't want the claps to come in just yet. I don't want the clap. No one wants the clap. That was terrible. Right. There we go. In fact, that bit there would be an excellent time to use one of those fills that I've got kicking around in block 32. So let's just copy this back to the song and pick a bit that I like. So let's have that. Let's have that. So I'm just going to copy and paste that there. The problem is I have the Beatmap running at the same time, so I might disable that there as well, so we don't have everything overlapping at once. Just checking the chat. Mitch Mood said, I didn't realize the power of blocks until I saw you using ad fielding. Oh, awesome. I'm really happy to have introduced someone else to it. I feel like it's a very underappreciated feature in Reason. Like it's, well, not underappreciated, just one that's kind of overlooked a bit, I guess. Okay, I've picked the most boring fill I could have. Oh dear. Right, so let's try that. It doesn't have to be super exciting, but that's better. I just wanted some actual variations. So Night Monkey Folkwayer said pattern mode is built the same way you can to make sure the pattern ends on a visible marker. It's, yeah, I just really like working with blocks. It's great. There we go. Nice bit of variation there. I was like, I haven't added a nasal riser yet, and then one played in my ear. No, I'm going to resist the urge. I might bring in that wave station. I am thinking it'd be really cool to have that wave station come in, but with just a really long feedback tail on the notes. So I could use the reverb. I'm spoiled for choice. I'm going to use the echo. Just add an echo, add a bit of ping pong delay there, and just crank the feedback up when it comes in, so we end up with this nice wash of keys. You know what would be a great one-off sound that would create interest and blend with these synths you have going? That's actually a great idea. I am totally going to stick that in a second. Right. I feel like that that delay isn't as heavy as I was expecting it to be. So let's fix that. I think I'm rolling off the feedback too quickly. Let's fix this. All right. Yeah, that bird sound is definitely going in. Maybe I'll roll the filter off on that delay as well. I might bring that up in later, but that's the problem with feedback stuff. So I've almost forgot that bird sound. Yep, right. Okay, let's find it. Where are you? So factory sounds and then 19 sample patches. No, what am I doing? That's not where it lives. Other samples. I'm ashamed with myself for not knowing where it lives. Yes. Right, okay, let's... No, that's not what I want at all. Right, let's drag that in. Okay. Alright, maybe I should have turned it down first. Right, now the trick is going to be getting this to fit, so... But I'm determined. I'm determined to have this going in this track. So let's add a bit of reverb. Let's add a bit of delay just to smooth it out. Yeah, that'll do. So oh yeah, I'm liking that. I may have overdone the reverb. Mitch Mood says, holy, it actually fits. You sound surprised. I mean, oh, I love getting that bird sound in everything. I might stretch it just a little bit. You know, I prefer it how it was before, so yeah, I might turn it down a bit. Stick a reverse in front of it. Oh yes. Right, let's just have just that little bit there. Right, reverse that. Nah, I haven't taken enough. Let's have a bit more. There we go. Let's reverse that. Nah, that's not really working. I'm overthinking this. I'm not going to overthink the bird. All right. Right. Just going to leave that as it is. A bit more reverb. The bird just is and always shall be. change there with the drums. Yeah, it does need a little lead in. Let's just chop that out there and reverse it, and yeah, there we go. That'll do. If I just roll off the lows a bit. Or the highs. Yeah, there we go. I can't believe I'm still messing around with that. Howdy. Oh yeah, I should probably stop messing around with that feedback now, yeah. Haven't you heard Bird as well? Oh god, that's gonna be stuck in my head for hours now. Oh no. In fact, one thing I wanted to do was I wanted to automate some of this pumping so it's not present for right at the start. So I might just mess with the, oops, didn't mean to do that, with the dry wet on the bass to start with, and have that kind of come in over the course of, if it helps I press the right shortcut, over the course of this section here. And I might do the same with the pad at the start. So it's not immediately pumping at the start of the track, it just kind of comes in over time. So let's do that there. Then in the next section I'll bring in the ARP and that'll be good. Gene Knott has just asked, what does pump do exactly? Is it a sidechain or something close to that? Yes, it's very, very like that. So basically, it is, as the name suggests, it kind of gives you a kind of that sort of four on the floor sort of pumping sound, so it just automates the amplitude of whatever's going through it. You can adjust how much it actually attenuates the sound by adjusting the floor, and there's a whole bunch of other functions you can adjust. It's like, as Buskin Bills has just said, it's like a sidechain but easier to set up. And because this is a kind of a four on the floor track, I figured pump would work quite nicely. So instead of me using my normal kind of sidechain compression setup, it's great. It's great. I'm a fan of that bird. Might actually bring in that chord change there because I feel like it needs a bit of variation because I'm not adding any elements there. I do want the bass to have come down by that point. Yeah, I think that the filter opening up there is a bit too much. So now we can have the Largo coming in. going to adjust the dry wet and the time on the wave station keys, just because I'd like that to wash out by the end of that section there before I start bringing in the other lead. So I'll just increase the reverb time over the course of that and the dry wet. Then we'll end up with this nice wash as that block progresses. So now I feel like opening the filter up on the bass there would make more sense. We get this kind of nice sense of progression, and then I'll figure out what to do there. Have a bit of a dip there. Buskin Builder said, can you play with the size of that reverb? I'm increasing it on the wave station, if that's what you mean. I just thought it'd be nice to just have that kind of wash out. Instead of just filtering out the wave station keys, I figured it'd be nice to do something slightly different for a change. And just drown it in reverb, because I never do that. So yeah, I like it where this is going. Clodma says, absolutely nailing the verb vibe. Well, I mean, both is good. Yeah, G-Not said, okay, I use a compressor to make sidechain most of the time. With the routings, it's kind of tricky sometimes. There's another really quick way you can add that sort of pumping sound by using an instance of, you can't see it here because my menus aren't displaying properly, but I'm adding an instance of synchronous. So that's just appeared here. So if I open up, there's a patch called Sidechain, which is in the pumping folder, and it does exactly what you'd expect it to. So what channel have I put this on? I've put it on the wave station keys channel. So this should be a really, really pronounced effect now. So you can just adjust the dry wet to suit your taste. And synchronous comes with Reason 10. It's a stock device now, so that's a nice, easy way of doing that. So, yeah. So now I might bring in that other lead, maybe bring some of the percussion back a bit, have that filter out a bit as well. Let's do the old wobble up and down there, so the percussion is kind of filtering in, and yeah, let's see where that goes. So I want to have the wave station stop playing there as well. So where is that channel? That's there. So I don't want us coming quite as strong to begin with. So if we just have the filter frequency increase. So I might just have the drums stop for a little bit there. And where is the beatmap? There it is. So just have that turn off there. I might also automate the hat density there just to kind of give a slight bit of variation. I think I may have also used the exact same fill twice, so I might replace the fill I've got going on there with another one. I think that's it. I think it's the same as that. Oh no, it's not. No, it's not. I'm just making it up. Excellent. Drabbit said, I never feel lazy. Who cares how you make the track if people like it? Yeah, screw you guys. No, but seriously, that is a very valid point. Like, if it sounds good, it is good. But yeah, I just felt like in this instance, I created a whole bunch of fills, and I suspected I'd just grab the same one again, whereas I've got like a whole bank that I could have drawn from. I feel like that would have been sensible. But yeah, I like where this is going. All right, that was unrelated to my fills, so damn, I take back my screw you guys. Yeah, Pump is great. Yeah, it is a really good rack extension, as has been pointed out in the chat. It does do things besides four on the floor kind of beats, but that's generally how I tend to use it. I mean, if I have more complex drums, then I will tend to just use the sidechain, like use the compressor on the SSL. Buskin Bills has said, too late, Adam. You're right. I can't take my words back now. I'm gonna have to scrap this entire stream and pretend it never happened. I feel like I want to add some extra kind of percussion there, and I am going to go into the loop supply folder and grab a bit. I mean, that sounds totally inappropriate, but I'm going to see how that sounds in the track. Right. I'm not sold. I want some kind of like some tambourines or something. Bongos, damn. Buskin Bills has said, what's the target length tonight, Adam? I don't know, like, I'll go with 4 minutes. That sounds good. You want bells? It's synthwave. I do want bells. That'll do. I mean, I'm just going to use that for now, and again, I'm just going to have that filter in, and yeah, there we go. Just have that filter in. Now I want something more splashy, I think. So like, oh yeah. I'm not even kidding. That's going in, right. Yeah, cowbells. It's bells. Right. Okay. Let's give them a bit of reverb. There we go. Lovely. Needs some echo. I'm very much appreciating the input I'm getting from the chat here. This is great. Escode1 has asked, and I'm just wondering, is there a reason you don't use the left and right width dials in the SSL mixer much? Not really. I think it's mainly because during the streams I'm not thinking too much about panning outside of ping pong delays to increase the width. I'm not adjusting the width at all because I kind of want everything to sound as wide as possible while I'm working on it. It's something I might mess around with tomorrow when I come back to the track with fresh ears. I've just realised I haven't given these proper names, so I'll give this sad lead. But yeah, I tend to leave them alone. If I'm working on particular elements, and then I will just mess around. I'll pan individual elements. But I feel like as I'm working on this quite quickly with headphones, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overcompensate because it's. I feel like it's harder to make reasonable panning decisions if you're working on headphones. There's a tendency to either go too far or not go far enough because you're trying to compensate. But I'm just not. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm just not doing it right now. But yeah, to be honest with you, I don't tend to do that much panning wise with a lot of my stuff anyway. I tend to try and get the panning sorted at the actual instrument level, if that makes any sense. So yeah. In fact, what I might do, you have given me an idea. I'm going to create an instance of Pulsar Dual LFO, and I'm just going to use that to automate the pan will modulate the panning on this particular channel. So LFO1 is now controlling the panning of the cowbell. So if we play it, you'll be able to hear the cowbell going all over the place. So I'm going to turn the level down and just turn the rate down, and you should hear this nice subtle panning effect. That'll do. That's a nice little trick that I sometimes use. Right, I think I'll just add that section there. I feel like this is coming to kind of a natural conclusion now, but I want to get like a rough arrangement done, and then I'm going to start messing around with this a bit more because there's a few things I would like to try out. I do want some shakers to come in. I feel like that is what I'm missing at the moment, so... How inappropriate. I'm all about the inappropriate sounds. That's really loud. Yeah, let's just go with that. Again, I think that needs just a little bit of reverb. I feel like the cowbells may be a little too goofy. I might bring them a bit back in the mix. That's nice. Clovermutter said, it's interesting how you can make something that's obviously meant to fit in a genre and yet it still sounds distinctly Fielding-esque. That's excellent, and it also may have something to do with the fact that I know very little about synthwave as a genre. So ignorance is my friend in this regard. But yeah, it's really cool. And it's one of those philosophical things where I kind of feel like nowadays, no matter what I write generally, it will kind of sound a bit like, it will have my sound on it, which is something I struggled with for a long time when I first started out. This idea of kind of finding your style, but it's something that I think you just pick up over time, and yeah, it's nice to be doing that now, and it's nice that's being reflected in what I'm doing here as well. And Trusco 2000 said, are these drum samples from Reason Drum Supply? The percussion loops are from Reason Drum Supply, except for that mangled percussion which I went over at the start of this stream, and the drums are from Evolve Free, which Buskin Bills is linked to in the chat. You can get that on the Wave Alchemy site. I tend to use the full version of Drumvolution in my own productions, but if I like to share the project files of what I work on after these streams. So I actually got in touch with Wave Alchemy ages ago and said, I'm doing these streams, would you mind if I included your drum samples in the streams and kind of give you a nod? And they said, yeah, that's fine, no problem. So just another reason why I like them. So yeah, that's really, really nice. So you just have to register with Wave Alchemy and they send you a link to Evolve Free, and it's just a set of really nice drum samples, which I strongly recommend doing. Although I do like some of the hits in the recent Drum Supply refill as well. It's just nice to have a bit of variety, really. So I'm going to have that percussion come back in over this section as well. Okay, so I'm gonna automate the hat density here again, so we have loads of hats coming in at the end. It's kind of nice. I like where this is going. So I'm just going to listen to this from the start and not talk for a second because it's been a while since I did that. Save reminder. Excellent. Here we go. Thank you. So here we go. I'm just going to play that from the beginning and see where it goes. That's something I was going to do. I'm going to mess around with the with some of these scales and chords actually. So that's for the pad, yeah. So at the start, I might actually have just 3 notes at the start and then bring in an extra note as it goes. And then I might start bringing in some inversions as well, because we toyed with that idea. Once the chord progression is more established, start playing around with inversions. I love that bird. Just have a couple of sections where I'm increasing the number of notes in the chords and that kind of thing. Oh no, that doesn't work. Maybe if I just try that. No, that doesn't work. So that was a nice idea. So I can mess around with the inversions a bit and just see what pops out. Let's try that. Bosco Builder said I think the inversions sounded better on the first half of the block. Yeah, I think you're right. And I think at that point in the track it could do with a little variation as well. It's also the color and open chords button, which I'm not using. So let's go nuts with this. Let's not go nuts with adding color. It's just nice to add a bit of variation there. Bosco Builder said, I think the inversion sounded better on the first half. You're on second, first was better. I'm not going to mess around with it too much now, but nice little variations there. Yeah, and then I'm going to stop messing around with it for the last couple of blocks, I think. Right, now I'm going to stop messing around with that and actually play it from the start like I said I was going to. I'm very happy with how this is turning out so far. Mitch Moody said the singer in me keeps trying to find a nice vocal melody. I mean, I've mentioned this already, but I do share the project files for these tunes afterwards, so if you did want to dip in and mess around with it, you are more than welcome to. And if there's any elements you'd like me to bounce or stems, then just let me know. I'm generally happy. I keep stems of everything I work on, so I'm happy to mess with that. Buskin Bills has said no vocal wash or nasal rise this week. I'm trying to wean myself off them. I feel like it'd be nice to just have a week where it's just more sequenced. So I feel like I don't need the wave station keys to come in quite that strong to begin with. Like it's quite a slow song anyway, so I think that kind of neuters that chord if I do that, so let's not do that. Buscables said you'll regret it when you have a cold and wish you had done one. This is why I need my nasal riser sample bank. That's a bit of a kind of abrupt bit there, so I might mess around with that. Oh yeah, the hats just drop. Let's not do that. And also that clap that comes in there, it's a little awkward. I might have some of those toms drop out so they're not happening every other bar. So also I've realized I know exactly how I want this track to end, and it is, I mean it's the obvious choice, and I don't think I've done it with any of my streams yet. It's kind of got a sort of 80s feel to it, so of course I'm going to be fading it out. So that's going to happen. There's a question in the chat. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce your name, so I'm not going to embarrass myself. Unfortunately, I apologize. But it's Najinu. It said, bit late, what synth is doing the ARP? That and the pad are real nice. So I cheated with the pad, which is Analog Dreams by Native Instruments. That's a contact patch. So it was a freebie not too long ago. And the ARP is Largo. It's a synth called Largo, which is excellent, which was, I believe it's still on offer. That's a VST. So that's Waldorf Largo, which is excellent. So it's just it's a very simple patch. It was, I covered this sort of earlier in the stream, but yeah, it's really good. I really, really love the sound of the filters there, and I think it works really nicely in this context. So that's that. just going to roll off the lows a bit on the cowbells. And I'm going to have those shakers come in a bit sooner as well, I think. In fact, I might swap the cowbells and the shakers round in that regard. So I'm going to have the shakers come in a bit sooner, and the cowbells come in. So I'm going to add some hats to this section as well, like some open hats, just to kind of give it more of a sense of progression. It's like some nice rides there. Busker Bills is handily linked to Analog Dreams in the chat. It's £44 now. It was free when I got it, so I'm very happy with that. It'll probably be included in Complete at some point if you're a Complete person. That sounded a bit more sort of consumer happy than I was expecting. If you're a Complete person, you'll purchase this product. No, if you own Native Instruments Complete pack. So let's just add some hats there. Yeah, that'll do. Right. And I think I'll end with like a nice delay wash and just fade out over the course of a block or so. So we have that. So that'll be a nice 4 minutes. Lovely. So just going to continue to have that play. And just stop that poly 6 from playing. I don't want that up. Oh, right, it's because I haven't brought the mod wheel down. Right. So how long is that? That's 33 seconds to 4:16. So that's like, it's about 40 seconds. So I'm going to use Cellar Gain for something I haven't actually used it for in quite a long time. So actually I'm going to put this, I'm actually going to use the master section for this. So that goes into the Cellar Gain, comes out of the Cellar Gain. I'm going to move that maximizer out just so I'm not getting confused. So Cellar Gain has a really interesting fade function on it, which sounds kind of boring. Like why would you use something else to fade your stuff out? Why not just automate the fader? And there's something about the curve that's used in Cellar Gain that really it has like a classic fade out sound, which I realize possibly sounds ridiculous. But when I use it, hopefully it will make more sense. So I'm also going to automate the fade because sometimes it can be a bit funny when it comes to exporting. So I'll just do that. So Just has a nice classic fade, and I can't really describe what it is about it. Anyway, I can probably finish that there. In fact, I might extend the fade just a little bit. So, what is it at the moment? It was about 40 seconds, wasn't it? So if I just say 50 seconds, live dangerously. Right, so. Classic fade. So I'd like to have like a nice wash of some kind there. But I like where this is going. Oh, thanks, Gene Knott. Adfielding, I just came back for your SoundCloud. You're so talented. Very amazing works you put out there. You got a new fan. What's really funny is that most of the stuff that's there at the moment is probably stuff from these streams. So if you like what you've heard on SoundCloud, then all of these streams are archived on YouTube. I have a big playlist of all of my music making live streams. So if you like that, then check those out because they show you how those tracks are written. I can generally guarantee if they're in the live stream playlist, then yeah, do check it out on YouTube. So here we go. Oh, I didn't do the Merc link. Oh, Merc. Yeah, the merch. Oh, I should have. That would have been sensible. Never mind. I did the bongos link. I did the bongos chat command. I mean. Again, I feel like having a fill there would make sense. So at the end of the track, yeah. This is actually really reminding me. Oh, Basketball said no evolution this evening. Actually, no. I'd intended on using evolution, but I don't really think it would work here with everything else that's going on. But I do intend to use that in another stream. I do like that player. But this is reminding me of in 2012 or so. I did a sort of synthwavy kind of project thing. I didn't really have any idea what I was doing, and I released it as an album called Adfi a year or two later. It was basically just a fun project for me to get away from obsessing over, because I was working on an album at the time and I was obsessing over it, and I just wanted like a fun project, and I had no intention of ever releasing that music as an album until a couple of years later I went back and listened to it and I was like, this is kind of neat. And so I decided to package it as an album and I released it, and it was called Adfi, and this is kind of reminding me of that. And this has been a lot of fun to work on, so I'm thinking it'd be really cool to get back into that. So yeah, this has kind of given me a bit of a taste for wanting to get back into the Adfi stuff. With Adfi, I ended up using a lot of, I used Way Beyond Fairlight, which is a refill by Bitly, a lot as my sound source there. It's a great refill, and check it out if you're into sort of more retro-y kind of sounds. It's excellent. But yeah, so but this is kind of a nice counter to that because it's more contemporary synths and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's interesting. Right, I'm just going to play this from the start and see where it goes and see if I get any ideas. But yeah, here we go. Actually, no, I'm not. I still haven't got a big kind of wash of something at the end, which I feel like I need. And also, I'd like to add some sort of I would like to add some bells. So, just thinking what would be good for like a sort of typical bell sound. Let's go for monopoly. So bell, dreamy vibe. Ooh. That could work. That could work. So let's add touch of reverb. And I'm just going to take that wave station part and copy it and just bring it over onto the monopoly. And I'm going to adjust the envelope because I don't really need that ringing out. Whoops, I was just adjusting the wrong thing there. Right, let's try that again. It's the problem with using cellar gain as the fade, is it will continue to fade when you resume the track, which is why I've added that automation at the start so that it sets the fade time to 0. So it sorts itself out, which is very useful. Wish I hadn't done that. That was painful. Right. Would like that to be a bit more obvious. Excellent. Right. Also, I want to mess around with the unison on that because I think it'd be nice to have a bit of unison. So I'll detune that slightly, spread it, turn the analog knob up so we get a bit of detuning there. So let's try that. Thank you for the reminder. Right. I'll turn the detune down there. So I've just saved that. I think I might just have a single chord playing out at the end. I see Buskin Bill's getting into the idea of me making merch. I was there when the Nasal Riser was born. It's turning into more of a cult thing, which I'm actually totally on board with. I'm just gonna copy and paste some of this stuff before I forget, because I just thought it'd be cool to just have a single chord playing out the, no, don't want to stretch that, just have a single chord playing at the end, just as like a nice sort of continuation. Oops. Yeah, let's copy all the things. I may have overdone the feedback there. Right. Okay, now I'm going to play that from the start and stop messing around. Here we go. Also, I haven't had any track ideas, so if anyone has any ideas for titles, track title ideas rather, then please let me know, because I have none. I'm not calling it the clap. Sweatbands. Ooh. Bring that bird in later. Also, Dravit has suggested aviator shades and hand grenades. I kind of like the idea of just calling it aviators or aviator, I don't know, or on the road. That's also a good one. Dog in. No. Why? Why would you run with that theme? Right, I've moved the bird anyway. Yeah, I think it sits better there. Anyway, let's continue playing. I am liking On the Road. That is a good suggestion. Yeah, I like that. I like how that's turned out. Cloverma has just said, would love to hear you do more like this if you felt like revisiting it in another stream. You know, I think I might. Oh no, now the fade is slightly too long. Damn, I might adjust that to 45 seconds. I need to get the fade right. So yeah, I'm happy with how that's turned out. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to mess around with that anymore. But just thinking if there's anything that kind of stuck out as not sounding quite right. I think when the bells came in, that was a little sudden. So track title haircuts, because we all need one. I mean, speak for yourself. My hair is totally in control. It's not. That's the headphones are doing most of the work. I feel they're containing the hair. So yeah. I do like the idea of something like On the Road. I feel like it is a bit on the nose, but definitely something to think about. Well, I don't know. I'll think about it. I feel like maybe I'll come up with a title. Maybe this kind of thing I'll listen to tomorrow, and I'll have a clear idea of the title. But for now, it's I might go with On the Road. I might go with Aviators or Aviator. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things I need to think about. So yeah, cruising. that does actually outrun. I need a pole bot. That's what I need. So yeah, it definitely has a sort of 80s car on as Gene Not has said, it's definitely seen an 80s car on a long road in the night. So if Outrun wasn't such an obvious title to go with, but yeah, interestingly, I recently I did a production tune which has been picked up, and I called that Outrun Sunset because it was a bit synthwavy, and I thought it's a kind of a obvious title. Outran Solar Fields. Lol. Oh wait. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to play this tune from start to finish and stop messing around with it, because I feel like I've done that every time I've played it. But anyone has any ideas, keep them coming. I'm going to be, as always, I'm going to be revisiting this track with fresh ears tomorrow and make a note of the changes so I can go through those in a stream at a later date. I've also done that with the most recent stream I did, which was Curaga, but I haven't talked about those changes yet, but they're in a nice long document, so it'll be nice to revisit that track maybe in a few weeks. But anyway, I'm going to keep silent for a few minutes and just join people in the chat and just play the tune. So here we go. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Yeah, that's great. So I'm gonna wrap that up there for the music making session. So yeah, I'm gonna see if I can come up with some track titles, and maybe after we can sort of discuss what's going on. So yeah. So thanks so much to everyone who's joined me in the chat today. I've had a great time, and it's been awesome to sort of shake some cobwebs with regards to actually working on a synthwave track. So if you're watching this on YouTube, then this is the end of the stream, and I hope you'll join me for my next one. If you're watching this on Twitch, then I'll hang around for a few minutes afterwards and talk about the track and all that kind of stuff. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to ask. Cruise Control, that is a fantastic title. Right, Cruise Control, there we go. So yeah, Cruise Control, excellent, great. I'm really happy that that name came in right at the end. So thanks so much to everyone who's joined me in the chat today, and if you watch this on YouTube, thanks for joining me, and I hope to see some of you next time for my next stream. So I'll be doing that next Thursday. And now I need to pick another genre and see where it goes. So thanks so much for joining me, and hope to see you next time. Cheers. Bye-bye.